Welcome to The Longer Game. If you're listening to a show about retail being reimagined. If you'd like to connect with The Longer Game, look for The Longer Game at thelongergame.com and on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn at The Longer Game. We're here to talk about retail, why it's changing, how it's changing, and what you can expect in the future. We're not trying to take ourselves too seriously, but we do want to know what that retail landscape is going to look like. I hope you enjoy your time listening to this podcast. We try to keep it as quick as possible because we don't want to waste your time, but we want to keep you informed. Thanks for tuning in. Now, here's the show. Welcome to the Longer Game podcast. I am here with my guest, Andrew Morgans of Marknology. No, his name is not Mark. He will tell you what his name means for his agency, but he runs a service agency that helps brands really accelerate their growth on Amazon. I think I killed that, by the way.
That was beautiful.
Based on what your video on your site says. But yeah, introduce yourself and tell people about your agency.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? My name's Andrew. Marknology. I was telling Michael earlier, it was just like a cheap URL back in the day. My agency just turned 7 in August. So,
congrats, man.
Thank you. It was a long time ago. And when I was coming up with the name, at least. And it was just a mixture of marketing and technology. I felt like e-commerce is right in the middle. And so, you need a little bit of marketing, but you have to be technically smart as well to really implement a lot of what we do in e-commerce. And so we're just having fun with the word. And, we are an agency here based in the Midwest in Kansas City. We've worked with over 300 brands since we started. So I've seen a lot, failed a lot, learned a lot. And are just trying to help brands like navigate the challenges of e-commerce in a changing landscape. And a lot of that has to do, we definitely got our start with Amazon.
Yeah.
And we're very Amazon focused. We do, some other things, holistic e-commerce as well, like websites and social and all that. But Amazon's our bread and butter. Having a lot of fun still doing it.
One of the things that I've noticed over the course of time in talking with prospects is they want someone to do it all. And I think that's very difficult. You brought up, needing to have marketing and technology aspects for running on Amazon, which is very true. What a lot of people don't know is that e-commerce service providers that are, building out websites, things like that, there's a whole other skill set that's behind that. There's developers on Amazon. You don't need developers. Amazon does all the developing. They do the user interface stuff. So it's a very different skill set. I think, if anything, it would be easier to go from Amazon to e-commerce and add in the developers. I don't know, though, as opposed to going the other way. But a lot of companies say, yeah, well, we do e-commerce, so we'll figure out Amazon for you. It's a lot more difficult than that. And one of the things that people don't know or realize is that there is a paid organic relationship because everything focuses on the listing. When you get a sale in advertising, when you get a sale organically or just show up on the page without being paid due to Amazon's algorithm, it helps the listing get more visible, increases rank, increases sales history, all that kind of stuff. So that I think is a common misconception. I don't know if that's something you run into a lot. I've talked with multiple prospects back to back saying, we got burned by this agency. We got burned by this agency. They said they could do this and they couldn't. What's your take on that?
Well, I would say that Marknology is definitely the benefactor of, or the beneficiary, I guess, of a lot of agencies messing it up.
Yep.
So over promising and under delivering. I think that Amazon is just harder than people think to actually do it the right way. And so they take it on, or they add that as a branch to maybe their existing marketing agency that could have done great work. But everything just doesn't translate, like you said, like even advertising in PPC, like I've been doing it since it came out in 2015, I think is when it became available.
I remember the campaigns that when I was a seller, before I launched into a service agency, the campaigns I was running were terrible. Just like one word things. I mean, maybe all broad match. I had no idea what I was doing.
Didn't know anything. Right.
Yeah.
And now, I guess for me, if it came out in 15, it's been 6 years of obsession with PPC, but someone doing Google PPC, doing ads PPC, there's some similarities, sure. Just like if you're going on 2 dates with 2 different women, there's some similarities. They're both women,
both women,
right? But like you can't compare.
They both probably have clothes on.
Yes, Okay, as on the date, hopefully so.
Or
But
not.
like
I'm not going to judge. Whatever.
as a metaphor to that, it's like you can't compare. They're not the same, So there's some
Yeah.
similarities, but they're so different. Everybody's so different, and um, I think that the thing with Amazon is most people, I think, are used to doing business in their own way. And so, being flexible. Oh my God, we do it this way because this. Amazon doesn't care about that.
They
And
are
like you
not
said, they
flexible
have
for
their
your
own
needs.
internal developers and stuff. Like we just have to operate the way that they want us to operate. On a website, it can be easier because you can customize it down to your every little nuance that you want, And so, oh, we just ship this way and we only do this, and like,
Yeah.
cool, you want to be an individual, go get a website, but you need to build a whole town in the middle of a field. Basically, that's to me, the uphill
Yeah.
battle of building a website versus going and opening a business in a busy city.
Yeah. I think that's a great analogy because people think, oh, Amazon takes 15%. For a referral fee. That's a lot. But when you look at the cost of building a site, so the development, the user interface work, the advertising to get people to the website, there's a big cost there. And yes, you have to spend money on advertising on Amazon, but the audience is there. It's the difference between in the busy city writing a sign that says, um, I sell microphones versus being in a field saying, I sell microphones. Is anybody? No, there's nobody there. The
Mm-hmm.
crows maybe, I don't know, that are interested in that, but
Huge difference. It's like, and
yeah.
what you're focused on is just completely different, because you have all the learnings, yes, on the Amazon side, depending on if you get help or not. You have all the learnings on the website side, but you're spending money on ads. You don't know what's working, what's not, landing pages, this, that, what customers, are you getting the right customers there? Is your website fine, but you're getting the wrong customers? You don't know. On Amazon, at least, that there's customers.
Yeah.
There's tons
Number
of them,
one.
right? And that they're there to buy. That's why they're on Amazon. It's
Yep.
like it's not a informational marketplace. Like, it's people are there to buy,
Well,
and so
I
you
would say
solve
it's
for some of those things.
becoming, there's more opportunities to be informational, but
True,
yes, it is
true.
very transactional.
Within the confines of like what Amazon gives us,
Right.
but
Exactly. Because we don't get to control where we tell the story. We just get to
do our
how
best
we
with
tell
what
it.
we're given, right?
Yeah.
And no one's searching like how to set up my podcast studio, and like, on Amazon, if they did, a book would come up,
Yeah.
probably, right? A book. But
Or you
instead they're
start typing
searching.
podcast and it auto completes to podcast equipment or podcast microphone or something like
Yeah,
that.
there's no one having a blog there with like 10 lists of 10 products, and so people are searching instead they've researched it on a blog somewhere, the 10 best podcast microphones. And then what's the one you just got? This red one.
This is a Telefunken.
A Telefunken. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
say Telefunken is number one on the 2021 podcast mics. You click on that link and maybe it takes you to Amazon. Okay, maybe it
Yeah.
takes you somewhere else, or then you go to Amazon, you search that mic, but you're looking for it. It's very rare that you're doing your research on
Yeah.
Amazon, maybe your price research or whatever. So it's just you're getting a customer in a different, I'm struggling with words today, but you're getting a
I
customer in a
think you sound
different
great.
path of the journey, a different part of the journey, the
Yeah.
customer buying journey. And so, it's like, I heard someone say recently, you get it like in Amazon or whatever business model you choose, you get to choose what problems you want to have in your business. And so you can have margin problems, if that's what we want to argue, that 15% or whatever, or you can have no customers in the store at all problems,
Which one would you rather have?
which one do you want? Pick and choose. And so some people, like, I'm very impressed when people have built a website that's crushing it,
Oh
or
yeah.
I'm just like, wow, I know how hard that was to do.
Conversion rates on websites, people, 2 to 3%, you're doing great. On Amazon, I've seen conversion rates of 30% because people are there to purchase. And so I think Amazon is very transactional, and that leads me to wanting to talk about brands in general. Marknology helps brands accelerate their growth on Amazon. I
Boom.
know my agency is very focused on brands, and I say that there's three kinds of sellers on Amazon: the reseller, the private label person, and then brands. And we like working with brands because they have a very identifiable story. Thanks to Donald Miller and StoryBrand for impressing that upon me. That's been super huge to better understand why brand is important, why people even care about that story. And I think you look back over history, people have been writing stories on cave walls since the beginning of time, and that's how we pass things on. So it makes sense that stories would show up in our marketing, and I think it's happened more and more the past decade or so. But why is having a brand important, not just for e-commerce but for retail in general?
Well, it's a long game. That's why this is this is a longer game podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, Branding is the long game for building something, and storytelling is at the core of that. Like our human ancestry goes to storytelling. Like that's how things were passed on. And I grew up very religious, growing up in church, missionary family. Like stories made the
Oh
world
yeah.
go around. That's how we built faith. That's how we passed along things. And so growing up in that, some of it has just been wanting to lean into what I enjoyed. And I'm not a minister or anything of the sort, but I still love telling stories, and kind of have some of that style, I'm sure, in the way I deliver things. But like as I started in this Amazon space, I guess it was just seeing further down the line, to me, the longer game, and early on, and being like, Amazon was releasing these features. I saw where this is a skill that not everyone has. This is a way to stand out in a crowded space. It's like, okay, what are all these other agencies doing that's made them successful? Some of them just do branding. Okay, so let me
Yeah.
do that branding, which is a very successful thing in and of itself, and bring that to Amazon, where they didn't have a lot of it. And I think there's a lot of reasons why it matters. If you're exiting, having a brand and brand halo, and a brand people know makes you more valuable. It's an intangible thing.
Yeah.
It's top of mind. I think an example of that would be when I was first growing kind of as an entrepreneur. I would get known around Kansas City as like the t-shirt guy, because I had an apparel company. I was advertising a lot.
Yeah.
It was called Landlocked, and people would just be like, "Oh yeah, you're the shirt guy." And I was
Yes,
just
that's me.
I was
the shirt guy.
pissed on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, cool, you know me, but also like, I'm not the t-shirt guy. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? I'm not the t-shirt guy. I'm the Amazon guy.
By the
In
way,
my
I
head.
love the name Landlocked. There was a coffee shop that was here in Cincinnati that also, yeah, I see that you're repping the hat right there. I wish I could wear hats. I just look like a big
Well,
doofus.
you
I
have good hair, so.
tried to wear one when I was 16, and I look like an idiot. None of my friends told me. So
Well, mine was out of necessity, actually. I've always had a hat on because growing up in Africa, I'm a ginger, and it
yeah,
was
that's
hot.
tough.
And my mom was like, it was glued to my head, like, this is how you protect your face and protect your
Yeah.
skin and stuff. So I've just always had one on since I
If
was a
the
little
sun
boy.
gets any more intense, we are gonna us Irish people, or I mean, you're a ginger, I'm very Irish. We're gonna fry, and anyone who has tan skin is gonna survive way better. I have a friend who's from Africa, and lives here in the U.S. Roast coffee here in Cincinnati, and we joke about that all the time. He's like, "Yeah, you guys are screwed." I'm like, "Totally, man. I can't survive that." The
And
people
that's
on
here.
Naked and Afraid that go out and they're like, "Yeah, I don't need to put on sunscreen," and
I'm
then they
like,
burn, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
imagine growing up in Africa with this. And I was like more pale than I am now. I was like see through.
This is tan for you.
Yeah, this is tan for me. This is aged. I'm aged. I got freckles
I like
everywhere,
that.
right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's your protection.
Okay, but this back to this, like the Amazon guy, t-shirt guy thing, because this really is where I learned. I knew about it in theory, in concept. I had read books about branding. I had read the Storybook Brand, and but it just didn't resonate with me. And so I would be like annoyed that someone's calling me the t-shirt guy, or bothered by it. Like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
I'm like, this stuff I'm doing on Amazon is amazing. Like, how come no one's paying attention to that? You talked about 30% conversion rate. Like, I wanted to jump in there. I've had a listing I launched from scratch for a brand, 48% conversion rate, 2 years running.
Yeah. That's
Um,
incredible.
Incredible, right? I'm like, this is only on Amazon. Like, that should be a TED talk. Like, this stuff we do on Amazon is amazing. Okay. And so I felt like it's amazing for a long
Amazon
time.
talks.
The world's catching up. But anyway, my point was, I took it on myself to be like, okay, if these people see me as the shirt brand or this t-shirt guy, why is that? And what message am I conveying? What story am I telling through my content, through my social media, through whatever? And I'd made an intentional move to start splitting off my personal brand from my business
Yeah.
brands, and having their own identities, and doing a better job of telling those stories on their own versus like just what comes through my social media, because that's kind of how I had started.
Okay.
And as I did that, I just started to learn like the power of that. And when it started being in Kansas City, where if anyone was like Amazon, they immediately thought of Andrew Morgan's. I was like, okay, success. I'm branded,
Yeah.
at least in my city, you know. Um, and that was an internal lesson for me to learn about branding, and just a silly story to share. But so many times we're like annoyed with someone else that they're not getting the message, and
Yeah.
really it's on us that we're sending the wrong message. There's
Hmm.
something wrong with our messaging, our branding, our storytelling that's not resonating with customers or people, and we need to go
You're
back to the
having to
drawing board.
adjust yourself because people are just perceiving things. And this is going to be a strange analogy, maybe, but I would love watching. I think it was called Leader of the Pack or whatever with Cesar Milan, the dog guy, and he would say, "When we're training dogs, I'm actually training the humans. I'm not
Yeah.
training the dogs. The dogs have it innate in them. The humans are giving off the wrong signals when the dog's growling. They're petting them. That means it's okay. They don't like that. So you have to retrain yourself and look at it from the other person's perspective."
Yep. That's exactly well said. And I've got some posts on this as well on my social media. That's just about like, I think a big advantage was, um, my dad showing me this at an early age, but how to see things from multiple angles and multiple perspectives and put yourself in the shoes of, your customer, your adversary,
Yeah.
or your competitor. And it was some of that. It was like, okay, if they're seeing me as a t-shirt guy, why is that? I'm not talking enough about Amazon, or it's not clear that this is what I do. And so, just trying to help other brands. I learned it through the band days, branding, and all these different lessons you
Yeah.
bring to the table.
We have a
Um,
lot of similarities, by the way. Both grew up in very conservative Christian households. My family was not missionary or not missionaries, but yeah, both are musicians in bands, uh, own Amazon service agencies, like kind of crazy. And
you're still
I mean,
playing
I don't.
music, right? You still
Yeah, I
play
still.
music, right?
Yep, I
Yeah.
still am. Yep, I'm. I took me 2 years to finish the last song that I got done. But I just upgraded some stuff in my little studio in my basement, and I really love writing and playing.
There's a band called Four Giants that I love. You
Okay.
might have to check them out. It's two guys that are like engineers. I think they live in New York and Chicago or something like that. They don't live
Okay.
anywhere close. And it's just so different than when I was playing and you had to be in a basement, you had to be in the same room to jam
Yeah.
and practice. And these guys write and play from two different cities in the world and write some awesome music.
The Owl
Um,
City guy, he did his
yeah.
whole first album, I think, on Logic, just in his room, and it
That was
sounded
what was so impressive about that
so
guy.
incredible.
A lot
Yeah.
of people hammered him when I was like playing music because he was soft and like we were metal and
Yeah. Yeah.
duh. But it was so impressive what he was doing before the technology even caught up, in my opinion. Like technology is super dope now. Like line 6, I think, like has actually good digital equipment. It used to be crap.
Okay.
When they
Yeah.
first started coming out and any of that digital synthesizers and stuff. And now it's like, oh my God, it sounds like you have two 8x10
Y-
ampegs, like,
Yeah. Or
quality.
you can. I mean, I'm a big synthesizer fan, and part of the reason how I got started in e-commerce was selling. I was selling used music gear, oftentimes used synthesizers that needed something fixed. And so I would like solder in a new battery or a mod wheel or something like that. And I knew how to sell on eBay. And I had a friend who just showed me more of the business side of it. And so I launched on eBay, did that for a year, was working another job full time and left that, and
I
then
remember that.
got to get on Amazon and stuff like that. But that's how I got started, was selling the synthesizers. And you can, instead of spending $2,000 on a Juno 106, you can get a plugin for like $30 now, and it sounds very, very, very similar. I would be hard pressed to believe that anybody could really tell the difference between those two.
I know, and if you're trying to live like I try to be minimalistic as
Yeah.
possible, and I'm always on the go. I'm traveling a lot. Why do I need all this stuff? I definitely don't have room for two, an 8x10
Right.
Ampeg rack, like, So as you're trying to figure out those things, like it's really cool. At technology is I can basically have the nicest stuff ever right in these headphones, and play. So and talking about like I would say that speaking of branding, right, just to tie it back.
Speaking of,
But musical instrument brands have done an amazing job of branding throughout the years and staying true to brand. And you can say Panasonic, or you can say Fender, or you can say Ampeg. Some of these things, and these are brands that people immediately recognize.
oh yeah,
Um, you
even
know,
covet some of the products. And I would say and I think we're starting to see this in marketing in general, not just on Amazon, but across e-commerce in retail stores as well. you have brands that are pairing up with influencers. Well, music equipment companies like Fender or D-Drum or whatever, those companies have built-in influencers in the musicians. And
Yeah,
so they are sponsoring those people, saying, "Here's the gear. You just play it, make it sound good. Hey, Tony Royster Jr., just play Roland drums, Roland D drums, and we'll have you, we'll give you the $10,000 kit." And he goes and outsells stuff because it's like, wow, check out this cool thing. I can play in 7/8 time signature, and I'm really awesome. Oh, I want that kit because then I'll sound like Tony Royster Jr. So I mean, that is a lesson that we're starting to see now that it seems like music companies have really been doing all along.
they've been doing it all along. They've been doing it well. And I actually was hyped up this last week about some stuff on Amazon. We have a brand, and I can't name who the influencer is. Um, we
Kim
have
Kardashian.
a couple of brands now. We have Kevin Hart with one. We
Oh,
have
that's awesome.
yeah, we have some big guys. Like, and this is actually a female, but she posted our storefront like on her social media and
Okay.
was like, "Oh guys, look, we're on Amazon," and we're essentially launching a brand with her as the face, as an influencer. And it's the first time I've had an influencer behind a brand I'm working with on Amazon
Okay. Yeah.
that had like she had 10 million on Instagram, 15 million on TikTok, like, big time, being able
Not
to send
just coming
traffic
in
like that.
alongside the company, but actually being a part of the brand, which is
Looking like
new.
she's launching the brand.
Yeah.
So a little bit different than even a musician playing the kit, but like
Yeah.
this is and that's what's happening now in 2021 is a brand that's looking to start, even a private label. Let's say you're a private label seller on Amazon and you're like, okay, and you have let's say you're 21 and you're still in college and you have a best girlfriend that has like 10 million followers on TikTok or something.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just throw it out there. Like maybe you should talk to her about giving her a couple points of everything you sell and say, hey, for the next 2 years, like let's make this brand together and post about it all the time on your TikTok.
Yeah.
And you're going to have way more success than trying to do that without. And so that's a big thing that brands are doing is getting influencers, I guess, essentially to tell their story, tell the story of the products in a different way than before.
Part of the reason, and I love your input on this, but part of the reason why I think influencers work and why it's important to even have those, especially with Amazon, most people are going and searching for products, not on Google, not anywhere else. They're going directly to Amazon to look for it. So if someone sees an influencer with a product, you can bet that they're going to go to Amazon to research that product. So, two things. If you don't have a presence on Amazon, people could lose interest and Amazon will recommend other things. Two, if your brand is represented poorly on there and you've neglected it, like maybe big CPG companies who thought, oh, we
Like
don't need an
Nike,
extra $10 million in revenue. We've got, a billion, so we're good. And then realize, oh, wow, we're actually losing brand credibility. People in the stores are
market
going
share.
and looking, yeah, are going up and looking looking at our brand. They see one picture of this bottle of, cleaner, and the reviews are not good and they don't know anything about it. And they're like, okay, well, I'm going to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, you're right. And like, oh my God, I get passionate about that because I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Let's get fired up, man.
well, I am fired up. I built a company around it, solving for it. Like it's a problem that I'm very passionate about, and it's like these brands have spent so much money through the years on their branding and being known and then just don't care on the biggest marketplace in
Yeah.
the world. And to me, that's just like silliness. And, these big brands are confused. They're sitting in their boardrooms confused. Like I know this for a fact about how they're losing market share. How can they lose market share? They're the number one jewelry company, they're the number
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
electronics company or whatever. And it's because people like me are getting behind brands like G Mama's Cookies, for example, out of Arkansas or wherever. And, we have 3 or 4 SKUs. And when you type in chocolate chip cookies on Amazon, I'm beating Nabisco and Oreo and Chips Ahoy and every big brand that we all know and eat those foods growing up.
Yeah.
Why am I outranking them? Because they don't care about the platform and they're not
Yep.
embracing it and they're not doing a good job of not just monetizing but positioning their products on the digital shelf space.
They have, I would think, intentionally neglected, not intentionally as in we hate Amazon, but just intentionally neglected it because they didn't see it as important. It was tertiary to them as a tertiary market. And now they're realizing, oh, wow, smaller brands. And I think small to medium sized brands based on revenue out of the, percent of revenue that at least on Amazon, there's, that first party side, the traditional vendor relationship, and then that third party side with any seller that can essentially access Amazon. That third party side is probably going to be more small to mid-sized brands, but you can still do 1 million, 5 million, 10 million on that third party side, but they're generating more revenue than the 1P brands because they've been putting more effort into it. They've leaned heavy into it. It's been more accessible to them. And so they're telling their story really well. They're getting on the same shelf space. They don't have to go into Kroger and say, hey, will you please put our product on the shelf next to Nabisco, G Mama's Cookies? Send me some free cookies if you feel like it. Maybe Mark of Marknology will hook me up, whoever that guy is. But
Don't know
I
him.
I think
Never heard of
they're
him.
getting on the same shelf space, and you're beating them
You
because
know what
there's
you'd have to pay for that in 500 grocery stores, like a Kroger or something. You know what you'd have to pay to be positioned in front of all those other companies
you
if
have
you're
to not only have to basically pay to get in, you're gonna have to do additional marketing. You got to pay for inventory. You got to even pay like a broker or someone to help you get into those stores. And so there's many layers that are keeping you apart from that. On Amazon, it's getting more difficult for reasons like preventing fraud and stuff like that. But it's
but great.
oh
I
yeah,
encourage that.
I get that. Yeah, I would rather it be more difficult to set up an account than someone could just show up and fraudulently sell
What
something.
problems you want to deal with, right? Like I would rather deal with those than to deal
Yep.
with fraud and counterfeit and lose trust. Like that's why Amazon's so powerful, is because the customers trust the platform that we sell on. You know, so
That is what I try to convey to people is, a lot of people hear about Amazon with private label brands and how they're ruining other companies. And I know there are some specific stories, but there's nothing new under the sun. We were talking about influencers and how musicians have that, music companies have that built in. There's nothing new under the sun. Kroger, Target, Walmart, they have private label brands too. That's not new, people, but
mhm.
it's another offering. It's another level of consumer that they're trying to target. Your main brand is the main focus. They are just the distributor. And so Amazon has built, really, they're a great example of marketing and technology because they have great marketing, but their technology and the logistics side of things is ridiculous. I mean, I think you'd look at these maps and think like these are neural highways in the brain, and this is the frontal lobe and all that stuff. Like looking at those networks, it's so crazy how uh, technologically advanced they are, which is why they're able to say, "Oh, you want something in a day? We'll do that."
Data. And like two things I want to piggyback on that.
That
One,
would be a good band name, by the way. Data.
data. That's a
Yeah.
Star Trek like Mario
Yeah.
mixed joke there.
Data,
Uh,
data, data.
no, no,
Or it
no,
could
no,
just
no,
be a
no.
heavy metal band song.
Love that too. Just scream it.
Yeah. Data,
Um, Two things. One being big brands early on Amazon were approached by account reps trying to get them to come onto Amazon. So they went on to 1P. It was very easy. They put them up and then they've just left it.
Yep.
Okay. And then all these branding features have come out and they just haven't done anything. And I think the smaller and medium sized businesses are hungrier,
Mm-hmm.
weren't just approached by Amazon, but instead we're like, we want to be on here. We want to be selling stuff. So they have taken in put the effort in to learn the platform, to grow on it. And so that's been kind of the differences, was like early on the small and medium sized brands didn't get approached by Amazon to be there. Right. So
Oh
Amazon went
yeah.
after the big ones.
No,
Um,
they were finding out about how do we. Oh, we can do this now. Let's do it.
like yeah, so they were just like pushing. I know the private label guys, like these were all people that were hungry for new business, that were just trying to embrace everything that Amazon had. Like push. What can we learn? um, I don't know. I think that's just important when you understand the evolution of what's happened and why. The second thing I would say is, like, we're talking about the grocery stores and shelf space, and this has probably happened 3 or 4 times now for me working with brands where they've got Whole Foods relationships,
Yeah.
or otherwise, or grocery store relationships, after having grown sales on Amazon themselves. So they've grown digital sales, which then turn into a massive contract or brick and mortar sales.
It's social proof. Even if you're not selling well on Amazon, there are now companies like Kroger, other companies that are looking at your product on Amazon and saying, "Oh wow, you've got 4.5 out of 5 stars, and you got 100 reviews."
Trust.
That's yeah. There's trust there, and they believe that. So it's not only helping your brand on Amazon, but you're now helping being successful on Amazon helps your brand get into stores. It's almost become reversed.
I think one of the
Amazon was
things,
going out to brands and saying, "Oh, we know your brand because you're in Target. come sell on our brand. And now Target's like, oh wow, you're on Amazon? That's cool.
Yep. Chewy.com, for example, is a site I know of that bases their ordering, like how much they order based on like how much volume are you doing on Amazon. So like these things all work together. Everyone's watching everybody to be like, who's the one leading the pace. If you that's why Amazon should matter to you. It's not just sales. People are looking at it as the big brother, as the forerunner. And popping in there and just making assessments based on those reviews and that trust. Like, there's no need to like just take your word for it that these chips are good. If you have a 500 reviews and they're 4.5 stars, and like, look, I can talk to 500 customers right here and see what they thought about your
Yep.
product, or the
And
data.
you can buy it with pretty much impunity if you want to return or refund the product. Amazon has made it very trusted, whereas you go to a grocery store and you're like, man, these chips sucked. And they're like, great. I'm helping customers in line right now because, again, they're the front line. They're not the bigger brand. Whereas Amazon, you kind of, I mean, and there's a whole ecosystem behind that, but essentially Amazon is the face now. And so they're saying we're going to take on that responsibility for every brand and make it easier for consumers so that you say, I bought some shop back bags, totally wrong shop back. And they said, okay, you don't need to send it back. We refunded you. And I'm like, but I don't want these. I don't need them. That would be great if it was like a food and I could still eat it, but I don't even need these, and they make it so easy.
Yeah, you can return. Like I've started seeing Amazon return stuff everywhere, like in Kohl's. You can like walk into
Yeah,
Kohl's and just give it to them, not in a box, and they'll like take it back. I'm like, what is
yeah, for
this?
free, as opposed to you
Witchcraft.
can go to the UPS store too, but yeah,
Okay,
they made
yeah,
it really easy.
they've just made it super easy. I was having a conversation. I own another business called AKC Co. And we do like Airbnbs and property management. We're a property management brokerage. And some of the guys are like, I'm in the container. They're over at the house. And, just before coming over here, we were talking about just patience and the difference in working with investors or working with founders that have built something themselves. Nothing wrong against any of those, but someone that's gone through the process of building their own business for 5 or 6 years versus, let's say, getting
Yeah,
funding before they start it.
yeah,
Year one, year two, year three, there's different learnings, because one got somewhere super fast and hadn't learned all the things that it takes 5 years to learn, for
yep,
example. And just talking about the patience needed to build a brand. We get hired all the time to help people build a brand. Manufacturers hire Marknology a lot, which might be that fourth category we talked about of sellers on
yeah,
Amazon,
yeah,
because manufacturers, when you're dealing with a brand, typically they have a brand, right? They have a story, they've got product packaging. Like working with manufacturers now that want to go direct to consumers for the first time, maybe in their company's history,
yeah,
you're helping them develop that. And branding and figuring it out like is something that takes time. It wasn't until I came out with Marknology and Amazon Brand Accelerator that I remember when I said I'm a brand accelerator for brands on Amazon. Like people got it that didn't get it
yeah.
before. Like I tried so many different like one word phrases
Sure.
or whatever to get people to understand what I did, and they were just like, mm. But whenever I started getting that like my storyline right or my like my branding right, where I was like I help brands. Everyone knew what a brand was, and everyone knew what or ideally what a brand is and what an accelerator is.
Well,
And
and that
so
is what good branding does. One of the things that I learned from StoryBrand and Donna Miller is if someone goes to your site and they don't instantly know what you do or what problem you solve for, you're not saying you have this, well we do this, check this out. It's just they see the product, they know, okay, I'm looking for a sous vide product and this is the product that I need. It's going to be perfect. It's going to look great in my kitchen. You just need to be able to solve for that right away. So when you get your message right, brands, when you get your message right, especially on Amazon, when 28% of people are making a purchase decision in 3 minutes or less, if you can get that right, that's going to give you brand credibility off Amazon because we've talked about how people are looking into that Amazon shelf space and saying,
yeah.
"Oh, well, you're there. Well, then we trust you."
Yep. And like exactly that, where you're talking about coming to your website and someone knowing immediately what you sell or what you do. And if they don't, that's why they're calling you the t-shirt guy.
Yep.
Right. And to
Oh,
bring
I
it
like
home
that.
to Amazon, it's like a lot of times this happens with photography with brands, and they've got these photos, these beautiful lifestyle photos. Maybe it's a baby, it's a woman holding a baby, or like, cool, great photo. But like, if I'm a customer, I'm like, what do you want me to get out of this
You want me
photo?
to pick up babies?
Like yeah, what do you want me to do? Am I looking at it? Am I saying great photo? Am I smiling because it's cute? Like, what am I doing? You have to tell me what you want me to get. Like, what's the story you want me to get from this product? Like, so comfortable, like, even a baby would wear it or something. Like, put that call to action.
Somebody who has a baby product, hire this guy. He wants to help your baby wear it.
You get what I'm saying.
I get what you're
I'm
saying.
saying. Like, these photos, like, if you can't immediately say, like, what do they want me to know? What are you selling? What do you want me to know from this photo or this video? You're doing it wrong.
Yep. So branding is important, people. That's how we're going to wrap up this show. We keep it short and sweet because we want you to come back for more. And I'm going to write a song called Data, Data, Data. It's going to be premiering on Andrew's SoundCloud page. We'll let you know when that goes up.
If they look me up on SoundCloud, there's some old stuff on there.
Okay. Well, I went through and put all my SoundCloud stuff new because there was a lot of old stuff, but you could find that. So, Andrew, tell people if they want to connect with you. How do they search you down? Do they look up your home address? Do they write you a postcard from Berlin? How do they do that?
Yeah, I got a client in Berlin, so I would love to have one.
I knew that,
favorite
people.
cities in
I
the
did
world.
not know that.
It would be LinkedIn, probably Andrew Morgans on LinkedIn, with an S on my name. I'm also on Instagram, Andrew Morgans. Love connecting on either one of those. LinkedIn's probably more for business. Like Instagram, I probably piss some people off. I just speak my mind and my heart there.
Yeah, whatever.
But I would love that, or at Marknology.com. Would love to hear from anybody.
You might, so from a personal branding perspective, you might piss people off, but you're very clear in what you're about. So there you go, people. This episode brought to you by Everyman Pens.
I love that.
It's not approved, but they'll appreciate it. It's one of my clients.
Send it to them. Let's get sponsored.
There you go. Boom, a brass pen, baby. All right, we're out. Thank you, Andrew, for coming on the show. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for listening to The Longer Game. We genuinely appreciate your time. And if you want to connect with us, please reach out to thelongergame.com. You can fill out a contact request form there. You can also find us on majority of the social media platforms, except for Twitter. That's the only one that we're not really on. This show is brought to you by my agency, Cartology. We're helping brands accelerate growth and become profitable on Amazon. If you'd like to know more, go to thinkcartology.com, fill out a contact form, and we'll get on the phone. That's what it's all about, connecting with you and building a relationship. This show is also brought to you by Arch DevOps. They're the ones that are helping make all the logistics of this podcast happen. We are so thankful for them. If you want to get your podcast up and running and you want to automate as many things as possible, go to archdevops.com. That's ARCHDEVOPS.com. and reach out to them. They can be super, super helpful. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your day and be blessed.